Hey everyone, how's it going? I hope everybody's safe and healthy out there during these unprecedented times. Today I'm going to take a look at this Giant Trance, which is a bike that was pretty much redesigned in 2017. This is a 2018 model of that bike, but they haven't changed it much up until today, 2020. So I thought it would be relevant to take a closer look at this bike. This is new to me. I bought it used, and if you ask me, this is a screaming deal if you can find one out there. Neon red version of the frame, and this is a Trance 2. They have Trance Advanced, Trance 1, 2, and 3. You can see here Giant 2. Small is the size of the bike, and this was meant to be an aggressive trail or all mountain type of bike. You have 150 millimeter up front, 140 in the back, 67 degrees head angle, and only 73.5 degrees for your seat tube. So not necessarily too aggressive, too long, too slack as per today's standards. The advanced models have an aluminum frame, and you can see here is made in Taiwan. Scan that barcode to get to their website. Continue on with the geometry. The chainstay is not the shortest either, 435 millimeters. What they've done in 2017, they replaced this rocker with the carbon version. So this is made out of carbon. Pretty much everything else is aluminum. Bottle cage, you can fit a 500 milliliter bottle, no problem. You can squeeze in a 710 millimeter bottle. Routing in this frame is internal, and you can see the ports for the hoses and cables coming in and out. That includes the dropper post, and you have a tapered head tube. If you were to re-grease these pivots or replace the bearings, you have the torque specified here everywhere. One thing that you have to keep in mind is that in order to service your rear shock, you're going to have to remove that pivot at the bottom. This is part of the linkage or the floating pivot as you see it over here. Upside down now, you can see that you still have the ability to install a front shifter or derailleur if you want to. That front shifter cable will come out of the frame through this port. You can see the width of the bottom bracket. This is 92 millimeter press fit. More about the drivetrain later. And one thing that I'm surprised not to see is there's no protection here on the down tube whatsoever. I installed some film on it. From the factory, it doesn't come with anything. You might want to consider putting something down there. Part of the redesign in 2017 was the trunnion mount for your rear shock. Fox Float DPS extra volume or EVOL version. You have 3 positions here for compression from fully open, trail or pedaling platform and closed. Rebound adjustment over there, and again this is 140 millimeters of greatness here in the back. On the other side, you're going to see the code for this product, so you can look it up on the Fox website. You have the Schrader valve to adjust the pressure and your shock. The boosted frame, so you have 148 millimeter spacing in the back. And talking about suspension, yes, the rear is 140, the front is 150, and the front list on this bike is built around the Rhythm 34 fork. This is a Fox, a bit more of an entry level, definitely on the damper side, which you see the adjustment here from open to firm setting. Left leg, you have the top cap hiding your Schrader valve for the air spring. You have 34 millimeter extensions. These are coated black. 34 in the Rhythm 34, that's what it stands for. This is a boosted fork as well. 110 millimeter wide axle, 15 millimeter QR. This is a grip damper, and you see the rebound adjustment here at the bottom. You have a robust 21 or 22 clicks here of adjustment, and you can see the rebound. You want to give it more dampening, rotate clockwise, counterclockwise to reduce the dampening on your fork. Top of the fork is where you're going to see this is 34 27.5, and on the other side, this gives you all the information that you might ever need from Fox. Just plug this in and you see exactly what kind of fork you have. and some suggestions for the air spring and damper adjustments based on your weight. 2019 and 2020 versions of this only introduce more options for the fork. I noticed that 2020 has even a Fox 36 or cheaper versions of, again, this Fox suspension that was used in 2018. Talking about changes or differences, 2019 brought us not much more than wider rims. And talking about rims, why don't we look at them now? These are XC1 made by Giant. They're tubeless ready, made in Type 1. 584 by 23 means that these are 23mm ID rims. 2019 introduced 30mm ID rims, also used in 2020. But all these bikes starting in 2018 used High Roller 2 tires, 27.5 2.4s, EXO sidewall protection, and tubeless ready. These wheels come tubeless from the factory. These are very capable tires for trail riding. I even rode them in Whistler on a downhill track. Boosted frame, so this is a boosted crankset. The length of the crank is 170mm for this small frame. All the other ones use 175. This is a 30-tooth chainring made out of steel that uses the proprietary narrow wide introduced by Shimano with their 11-speed. The chain that comes with it is a KMC. This is not that one. The cassette is an 1146, and the derailleur is a GS SLX as well, with a clutch that can be engaged or disengaged. So overall, a very good, reliable drivetrain that was replaced by the 12-speed versions of SLX or the SRAM Eagle in the current configurations of this bike. Pretty much everything you touch and feel on this bike is Giant branded. So Giant Connect stem and bar. The bars are 780mm wide. You have grips that are Giant branded as well. These are not the original. And that also includes the saddle. Again, this is not an original saddle. This is a Bontrager women specific that I highly recommend. And also Giant is the dropper post. And this small size, you have a 100mm drop. I reviewed this dropper recently when I looked at cheap droppers. What I really dislike about the dropper though is this remote, and I know you are gonna find people that complain about it. The problem, I think it comes from this tension adjuster that is very flimsy. So this is going to be the first thing that I'm going to replace. But aside from that, you see the SLX brakes. Again, this bike uses a complete SLX Grupo SLX brakes that I really like, and I use them on a different bike as well. And you see the SLX shifter. If you can afford replacing that SLX with an XT, you will make your shifting a bit crisper, and it will also have the ability to upshift more than one gear at a time. A modern 50mm stem. You see the Giant branded top cap, also Giant branded FSA headset that is still fine after a couple of years. I just cleaned it and re-greased it. 180mm discs. Again, SLX, 2-pot caliper, very capable. I never needed more than this for the type of riding that we do. And I didn't mention earlier, but these wheels are built around Giant hubs. That's nothing special about them. Cartridge bearings in them. In the rear, we have the same 180mm disc. And you can see the adapter over here. Again, the frame accepts 160mm discs if you want to. But these stoppers are good enough. Newer versions of the bike might give you the 4-pot version, but it's not going to be SLX. I saw the M520, which is the cheaper brakes from Shimano. The hubs are Giant branded, and this one comes with the standard Shimano free hub body, but the new ones will give you either the XD driver or the microspline, depending on the drivetrain that they are shipped with. The weight of the bike in the current configuration, it's a bit over 32 pounds, which is not too bad for a trail bike. The tires are quite heavy, and you can reduce the weight a little bit, but for the intended purpose, I don't think this is a heavy bike at all. As for riding, obviously, I can't do too much of that. However, you can look online. I know MTB Yum Yum had a good riding review of this bike a while back, so check that out. As for me, I bought this used again, and I consider it a steal today, given that they haven't changed it much. And again, if you ask me, I would prefer this bike with an 11-speed drivetrain as opposed to any 12-speed that they might come with today. And I think that's the end of my review, folks. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. If you found this useful, don't forget to like, subscribe, keep an eye on social media, and until next time, I will see you folks hopefully really soon on the trails. Cheers, guys. Cheers.